My internet might be shit. All right. What's going on, guys? It's your favorite part of Friday. It's Friday. I thought of that today while I was at work. I thought of that like literally like as I got to work as I was driving there and sat there, and I thought it was pretty clever. FFR Day. Hey, just thought of that. But what's up? It's me, Frankie. Frankie's Film here with.
Robby underscore NFL. Just excited to be here. You can find all my work at, again, Robby underscore NFL over on Twitter.
We sync that up. Now we're getting the connections. We're like
We
the
are.
dagger routes for Bo Nix, the only timing concept that we're seeing him hit downfield this season. But what's going on, guys? Our third win we get to watch and go over with you guys in a row against the Las Vegas Raiders. Hey, I feel like I was a little optimistic about this team when they were 1-2 because I really did think like, man, top five defenses don't come around, like they don't grow on trees. If they can really be a team that can just be carried by this unit and just be semi-respectable on offense, which we'll get to if they were today, we can maybe have some magic. And so far, I think we've got a little bit of magic. But Robby, what is your big? How are you feeling after 3-2? What's your big takeaway after the Raiders game?
Oh, 3-2 is huge, especially when you go into the season expecting it to be, like an evaluation year one of a complete teardown rebuild, and they're coming out, and even in their losses, like against Seattle, they were extremely competitive. Pittsburgh, they were competitive, although towards the end it kind of slipped away, and they're just playing really good football. Like they're playing really well, especially defensively. Offensively, I hope we can, kind of weather out the storm here a little bit, but against the Raiders, they had a pretty good day offensively.
No, and I mean, like you said, it's not only the defense, the special teams has been fantastic. It's really just like, it's one of those things that is, as I think both of us are fans of this coach and coaching staff, it makes me optimistic that hopefully, again, we'll see what happens with Bo Nix. He may end up being, totally tied to whatever happens to, or Sean Payton may be totally tied to whatever happens to Bo Nix. But as it's currently sitting, I'm feeling pretty decent that like, hey, I think we'll be able to kind of keep this thing intact, maybe minus Vance Joseph next season with the Jim Leonard as a replacement. But I'm feeling pretty good that I think at this point, we're not looking here being like, we're going to have to find a new coach next year. But I guess everything can change pretty quickly on that end. But I mean, yeah, like you said, man, 3-2. And especially when we talk about how the AFC is looking right now, I've been kind of like, really looking at it as like, man, like they really have a great opportunity here. The Chargers are this weekend is going to be absolutely massive against the Chargers for the wild card round. It's crazy. Obviously because they're in division, but like just when you talk about the chance to get to play this team early, this Chargers team has kind of been dealing with a little bit of injuries. They've got some kind of missing links on their offensive line. Herbert's a little bit hobbled. It can be an opportunity for this Denver team to really take a step forward in this, this October season, this October month. And I mean, man, how exciting would it be to get to see playoff football with all the hamstringing that they've had to do for this season?
Yeah, it really just goes to show how much of a difference a good coaching staff makes. Like, this season we're looking at, when you look at the market in Vegas and all these things, they're looking at a 4 or 5 win season and they're already at 3 wins. Last year they were looking at sort of the same and they ended up with 8. Like the floor that this coaching staff can raise and really make out of a team like this, it just goes to show how important it is. And like you said, the entire AFC is slipping. Like even the teams at the top, they don't look like the world beaters that they've been in years past. Like the Chiefs are 5-0, but it looks like they've been fighting tooth and nail just to get to that 5-0.
100%. Yeah, you look at teams that are kind of supposed to be the other Patrick Mahomes beaters in the AFC, like such as the Bills and the Bengals. Like those teams look strong offensively, but they can't stop anything on defense. Like all of the top teams, like you said, they have holes except for Kansas City, which is obviously, God damn it. Well, they have issues as well, but they're kind of, we'll wait to see it until January. But yeah, like this is the season. I said it earlier this week. Like I really hope Denver kind of seizes the chance this year because I really think this, as we've said, the AFC is loaded with so many of these young, super talented quarterbacks. And, I know that this is going to happen, to some extent every single year, but there are going to be so many years where just Patrick Mahomes is on, CJ Stroud is on, the Ravens and the Bengals are both online, where these teams are just going to eat up 5 to 6 of the playoff spots as is. And if you're Denver and you're kind of hoping that like, hey, maybe Bo Nix can become a guy like that, we'll see. Or hey, we're a team that's just trying to fight for those remaining spots. the years where there are actually openings and windows, like again, who knows who the 5, 6, or 7 seed is going to be this year? Like when you look at it right now, I think it's lining up to be like, I think it's a couple of teams that Denver beat. Like again, as much as it sucks, that Pittsburgh loss might end up being really big by the end of the year. But this is a year where Denver, I think, really needs to take advantage. And I mean, it would be a real, like, as crazy as it sounds, with as much, like, it wouldn't be disappointing. And it's not like I'm saying it should be the expectation, but with how it's going right now and how it looks, I can't lie. It would be a little bit sad if they weren't able to, like, at least be close at year's end, you know?
Yeah, I'm like everything it seems for the first time in a while for Denver is lining up for them to make this run. Like again, we talked about the AFC teams that are kind of dwindling. So their opponents are going through some like huge ravaging injury reports. Like just this Chargers injury report, it's pretty extensive. Last week they saw some big injuries that they were going against last week, and it really just seems like things are lining up for Denver in a way that they haven't really lined up in years past, and we're seeing it reflect on the team and their performances during the weeks too. Like some of these games that they're pulling out and winning weren't games that they were pulling out and winning since 2015.
You can really say that. I mean, even like, I mean, sorry, we'll get into the tape here to save it, but even this one, like, man, it felt so weird. Like this was one of those. It felt like the start of every other Broncos Raiders game, where it's just like Denver looks like they just don't know who they are. They don't look confident in themselves. They're getting dominated physically. Christian Wilkins was an animal in this game. Him getting injured was like a massive blow to the Raiders defensive front, because they were shutting stuff down, and it was really a big part of him. But like, it really felt like, oh man, this is going to be one of those, like, who knows if they'll be able to pull it out. Raiders are probably going to end up having some, crazy botch touchdown play that's going to end up putting this one out of reach for Denver. But then all of a sudden you look up in the middle of the third quarter, it's like, oh man, Denver has a 3-score lead. Like, where did this come from? Like, it really kind of snowballed very fast. And I mean, as crazy as it sounds, like, Bo Nix played a part in it. But as you've kind of talked about, like the defense, which again, Patrick Surtain had we'll cover it, but 100-yard pick six, which was just a massive swing. Special teams all day. Like it seems like every return was going for like at least a 15-yard chunk. And then this is something we were talking about, like with the field position, like Sean Payton has been through his first 2 years in Denver. I'd say probably a little bit more on this word sounds bad, but it is kind of what it is, on the cowardly spectrum as far as fourth downs go. It seems like he is much more willing to play that field position game, which honestly, when you think about the teams we've had the past couple of years, does end up making sense. But it makes it so much more valuable when the team is acting the way this team is on special teams, with guys like Tremon Smith, Riley Moss. We saw Marvin Mims, I think, last week when he was playing as a gunner, down one on the one. Like, we're also seeing Riley Dixon have an incredible season. Just, he hasn't been a guy that has a big leg, but he has been fantastic at pinning these teams from, like, kicking from his own 40 to up to the 50 to just locking them down. Coverage has been fantastic, and they're able to work with that. And this defense makes it so hard on teams to be able to create big plays outside of the Brock Bowers, that was the play that as soon as I saw, I was like, here we go. Yep. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, when that play happened, I think I tweeted out something like, seems like this game is going to end like every Raiders-Broncos game the past 5 years. Like, that's the way it looked like it was going, especially when they got the 3-and-out right after that. Raiders went down, kicked a field goal. It didn't look good.
Especially like coming off of, we'll get into the play right after, especially after the Jacoby Myers 3-touchdown game last year. And I'll be honest, this is a random thing. Jacoby Myers is nice. Like, I was watching Jacoby Myers, like, that dude blocks his ass off. Like, that dude's like our type of player. Like, I like you, Jacoby Myers. If you're ever trying to come play for the Broncos, I'd be ecstatic. Not like I get to sign the contract or anything, but I'd be freaking hyped to get to watch that dude play in a Broncos uniform, because he's just like, he's our type of dude. And like, he was pretty awesome in this one too, even though he didn't really make too many like plays with the ball in his hands. But like, he's just a fun player on every single rep to watch, because he does stuff. But yeah. So first play we're going to be getting into here. This is our first Bo Nix rep of the day. I hope this looks decent on the stream. It looks like it does. All right, cool. So this one, we'll get into it. It looks like the quality kind of faltered there at the end. So you go with this one first. So I want you to see.
So, I mean, this was kind of like a sort of a microcosm for how Bo Nix played in the first half. And kind of sort of through the second half, where he was getting these nice throws on the field and on tape, but he ended up being later on some of these concepts that you'd like him to be. And he ended up making the throw harder for himself. So this is just going to be a traditional scissors concept. You're going to get the big post and you're going to get the big corner. And it's working against the cover two structure. So that safety to the strong side of the formation is going to get put in a bind. He's either going to have to take the corner or he's going to have to take the post. And ideally, they're most likely going to take the post. So when you see that safety opening up and turning his leverage towards the post, you just have to be ready to hit that corner, man. And once Bo got to the top of his drop, it looks like he just didn't trust what he was seeing, broke the pocket, and he still ended up making the throw. So in the context of this game, sure, it was a nice play and it was a big play, but you kind of have to ask, like, is this a habit that we're going to see with Bo Nix, to where he's just sort of more like a see it, throw it kind of quarterback, or can he notice the leverage pre-snap and post-snap and put the ball where it has to be?
I mean, we've talked about it so much, man. His seeming inability, at least so far, to just reset. There will be a bunch of other examples we'll get to in this one, but where he's so quick to, there is no pressure here. Like, again, maybe you're worried about the left tackle, maybe again. But, like, dude, this is about as good of an NFL pocket as you're going to get. I think their pressure rate from this game was only something like 16%. Like, it was very low. And as we've talked about, Bo is pretty good at evading pressure. But this is one of those, like you said, where, man, you got to hit this throw. Like, he does fine. Like, we're not trying to call this a bad play. And I feel like there's going to be people that think we're nitpicking. But it's like, no, man. Top of your drop, make this throw here. And as we've talked about, you'll have more room to work on up the sideline. When you kind of force your guy to stop here, well, now he's got it. Sorry, this quality is absolutely horrible. I'm sure nobody can see anything of what I'm talking about. When this blob of nothingness runs into this blob of nothingness, there's no space up the sideline for this guy to work. And as we've learned, I think this is Lil Jordan Humphrey. Again, can't tell, blob of nothingness. Lil Jordan Humphrey's the best yak guy on this team, guys. He is the only guy who is breaking tackles after the catch in this receiver room. So, God damn it, Bo. We need to give our guy a chance here. And we've talked about this. Like, bro, you're set. Top of your drop. We talked about this last year with Russ. These concepts are set up that when you get to the top of your drop, you should have an answer ready to go. If you don't, like, you got to start working through the progression, yeah. But too often, Nix just is moving right away instead of seeing if he can make that completion happen on time, on schedule. And it's like, we've seen it once a week where he's able to make the big dagger throw. And I said last week, like, man, wish we got to see another other concept. And this is another one where it's like, man, like you said, this is scissors concept. And something we'll talk about in this game too. The Raiders, like, defense, it's all right. But I'd say a big thing in this game was they showed, I think, probably more just straight cover two than any defense I think he's seen so far this season. And he just didn't seem to have a willingness to kind of push the ball against it, which, again, I know that's kind of the idea of having a too high shell, yada, yada, yada. But there are holes on the field that you are able to push against cover two. Specifically, this hole right here, which is called like a hole shot. Throwing between this flattened out corner who's playing the flat and this really high safety right here. We saw such an unwillingness from Bo to hit this throw in structure throughout this game. And it's not like, again, we're not trying to be like, oh no, it's already donezo, but it's one of those things that's like, man, this is a little concerning when you talk about these are probably as good as these pockets are going to get. It's like, not saying it's only going to get harder from here, but like, we're 5 weeks in. We're about to be going on to week 6, and we're about to have 2 games this week. We're coming up on the halfway point of the season. We need to see improvement on this stuff. And as much as it sucks, we see it slightly improve throughout the games, but far too often we start out these games and it's kind of like, dude, like, you got to clean this shit up, man. Like, there's really no other way around it. But yeah, what I want to say about the Raiders, they were not really disguising a lot in this game either. Like, I think we saw a lot of just, as we saw kind of last week against the Jets, you're seeing what you're getting. You should know where to go with the ball and kind of just have an idea what you're trying to do, even pre-play. And even here, like you said, it just seems like instead of kind of knowing how to read out the leverage, he'd rather kind of look to make a play, and then he sees the guy open and makes the throw, which, again, that's a very important distinction and is disappointing because he's been playing really well with anticipation the first few weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, it plays into something else as well, where you look at some of these pockets and you'll see, okay, one guy gets off the edge and it may look like somebody is chasing him down, but all Bo has to do is just step up into this pocket, which is one, like you said, one of the better pockets that you're going to see in the NFL. You step up and you completely take that edge rusher's angle away. Like he won't have a play at you if you just step up in that pocket. And I want to make note that we're not saying that, this is just it. This is the guy that Bo Nix is. Nobody's saying that he's not going to improve on these things, but we're just watching what is in front of us and we're just explaining it. We're
Right.
not saying that he's not ever going to get better. And I know I am, and I don't want to speak for you, but we're pretty
I'm a
much Bo Nix
concerned.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix, but I'm a little
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
Um,
It is concerning, especially when you see some of these concepts. And when you have a see it, throw it kind of quarterback, it's hard to phrase because I don't want to say that it's a bad thing, but it isn't necessarily a good thing because you're leaving plays on the field when they aren't NFL open for you.
Yeah. No, and then the other thing is someone pointing out like how the edge is bearing down on him. There's a 5-step drop. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom.
Right.
Boom. Sorry. Boom. Hit that throw. You're already there. This edge is not close to him. Anyone who thinks that this is a pocket he cannot attempt to throw from, that as we saw from the wide is wide open. Come on. We're being too, again, I'm not trying to say, we got to beat up on the guy, but come on, guys. We got to be legitimate here and say this is a great, and if this is not an above average, this is a fantastic NFL pocket. You need to be able to operate and make throws out of this on schedule. And as we're saying, it's a little concerning to see him not be able to. But again, he ends up finding the right guy. His eyes are able to stay up when he's moving, which has been a little bit of a pro for him. And he makes a nice layered throw between the defenders to the little Jordan Humphrey. Sounds like a storybook character.
It makes it even more, I don't want to say frustrating, but lack for a better word, frustrating, because we've seen, even through all the ups and downs with the Knicks, he's had some pretty good anticipation on a lot of these throws. So, it's kind of just disheartening to not see him make an anticipatory throw like that on that scissor concept. But again, hopefully we see, more progression through it. And to his credit, there are a lot of different areas in this game where he's improved week to week. Like week 1 to right now, the game that we're watching right now, it is not the same player. Sure, you're not exactly where you want him to be, but it is not the same player. Like there are a lot of mistakes that he made week 1, week 2 that he isn't making this game.
I agree. And I think we're also seeing kind of the rest of the offense is kind of figuring out as well, which is obviously just going to help. Again, the running game came alive this week, as we'll kind of get into a little bit later. But Javonte Williams looks like he's worth some money right now, which is pretty cool. Very exciting for him to kind of see that he's just beating the shit out of guys right now. It looks like, and dude, his patience this week on some of these cutbacks, dude, relax, Javonte. I didn't know you had some Lev Bell in there. It was saucy. I loved it. The goal line, we'll get to it later. Actually, I don't know if I have that list. The goal line carry where I forget who got blown up the middle, but he just ends up just sidestepping and almost pushes into the end zone. Woo! But anyways, on to the next play here. We've got another. This is one we were talking about. This one was one that Patrick actually highlighted, but I wanted us to also go through it because we're stealing.
I mean, again, it's just another thing that
Same thing
you talked about, just the unwillingness to throw to some of these cover 2 voids. And there were more than one play like this where there was an open hole shot to the boundary and he just turned it down. And, in totality, I wouldn't say it's a bad play because he still found the check down. He got positive yardage and he kept the drive alive in this game specifically. But again, these are just plays that are being left out on the field. If Bo sees this and puts the ball on Franklin as soon as he clears that cloud corner, that safety doesn't have a play on that ball. I know what it'll look like. He will drive on that ball. But we see whole shots taken every single week in the NFL and by guys with varying different arm levels. And they get to the receiver before the safety gets to break on that ball. So this is a throw that Bo can make. And he made it in college. NFL hashes are very different than college hashes, but he was hitting hole shots in college. So it's not like it's something that he hasn't seen before.
Yeah, there's two parts of this I want to talk about. First of all, you're completely right. A big part about this is you're starting far hash. Troy Franklin motioning over to the sideline. He has so much room to work with here, and he does a really good job of getting to the outside. Again, if you put this over here, no shot, dude. No shot is this DB getting there. And if he is, that's concerning. That's straight up concerning if you don't have a QB that can pressure this throw. The other part about it I wanted to point out, and this is something that, again, when we talk about, hey, why aren't we seeing that much motion in the passing game? Well, it seems like when Bo Nix doesn't have a very clear static picture of what he's getting beforehand, and this isn't, again, I'm not trying to say that this is definitive of what he's doing. Hey, man, you got a good motion here, and you've got them literally confused. Like this, there were multiple coverage busts caused by Denver motioning a receiver into just being able to get a runway. Here we've got Troy Franklin literally causing a confusion between the DB. Oh, are we playing man? Are we playing zone? We're playing zone. Shit. We gotta make this throw here. But it seems like he just is so unwilling because he doesn't even seem like he's really looking as to what the concept is. It just seems like right away he's just kind of like, all right, where's my one? They're playing sync. All right, let me dump it off. Which again, I don't want to bash him because as we pointed out, or not, I don't even know if we point out, this is 1st and 10. This is 1st and 10 from your 3-yard line. Am I going to bash the guy for seeing sync from the linebackers, recognizing that they're playing a too high shell and just taking the dump off to your back? No. But as we're pointing out, this is kind of similar to the last play where it's like, dude, if you're willing to take your drop and look to make a throw here against the coverage that you're seeing, you'll probably find a lot of these opportunities are open more often than they're not. And I feel like too often, it's either he doesn't, he's not comfortable seeing it, or he's just not confident in the plan or the playbook as it is. And then this is also kind of another example where I guess we'll look at it from the end zone. But I mean, again, man, he's so frantic, so quick in the pocket, which isn't a bad thing because, again, it keeps him safe. Whatever, you work over here. But as we've talked about, he goes to 100 miles per hour to get out of these pockets so fast. You want to move over here? Fine. But you can reset here, man. Sure, you want to take your dump off, but man, we could reset. We've got a big throw down the field. But instead, every time it's all right, let me make a throw on the run. Let me get full outside the pocket and try to make something on the move, which, hey, he's able to do better than probably a lot of guys are, but that can't be the go-to for you to be a successful offense.
No, I mean, 100%. It seems like every week we're seeing a handful of examples where he's moving out of an NFL pocket and there's a throw down the field, and all he has to do is reset his frame towards the throw, reset his throwing shoulder towards the throw. And instead he just makes these on the run off platform throws. And to his credit, so far he's making them. Like, he looks pretty impressive outside of structure in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected him to look. But if you just sit there and you reset your frame after you break that initial area in the pocket, there's so much more downfield that you can access as opposed to playing off platform and out of structure.
Yep.
And
again,
sorry, go ahead.
You go. Well, I was just gonna say too, and it's kind of happened. The throw to Troy Franklin to get to that, that's another throw. I'm not sure if it's in here, so I'm just gonna give it a slight comment. The throw to Troy Franklin before the half that got them the 20-yard chunk, good play. But it's one of those where, again, if he resets and throws, it doesn't really matter because they ended up making the field goal. But Troy Franklin's probably catching that and running, as opposed to having to turn around and make the catch in bounds. And then we almost have a kerfuffle. Now we almost didn't get the kickoff. Again, it's cool that you can make these throw on the run. But if you're throwing, 75% accurate on the run, as opposed to just setting and, well, to be honest, sometimes when he sets, there's a little bit of issues there, but we'll get there. As opposed to setting and having, a 90% accuracy throw. I don't know. I'm just throwing out bullshit numbers, but you know what I'm saying. Take the higher percent shot every single time. Don't make it more difficult on yourself, as we've seen him just seemingly want to do throw after throw after throw.
Right. And I was just going to say, to your point about the motion and Nick's preferring a static picture, it looks like on film, that's not something that's exclusive to Bo and Peyton at all. Like, me and you were talking about it. I think every week we've mentioned it, at least just in passing, that I believe it was 3 or 4 of the bottom 10 offenses in motion and pre-snap motion have rookie quarterbacks taking snaps. And especially in today's NFL, motion isn't this fail-proof coverage indicator that it used to be. You know, you motion a guy out, a linebacker follows him. Oh, you know it's this, or you know it's this. With these split field coverages that these defenses are playing, there are so many answers to the different motions that they see that you can see the entire defense just bump over, and it could still be man coverage. We saw the Broncos do that on their interception, the Brandon Jones interception against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
They followed the running back out in motion. A corner followed the running back out in motion, and it still ended up being, or sorry, a linebacker followed out the running back in motion, and it still ended up being zone coverage. So it's not this fail-proof coverage indicator, and I don't think it's indicative of not just Sean Payton, but these different coaches not being able to adapt to the modern day NFL, where it's just these rookie quarterbacks are seeing so much with these different coverage rotations that I think just simplifying the picture pre-snap and not having them have a million different moving pictures with pre-snap motion, I think it's more beneficial to these rookie quarterbacks to see it in a static way.
Preach. And it's not only Bo, guys. Like he is not the only young, inexperienced player in this offense. You know, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims has an expanded role this year. You've got running backs that are kind of new on the team. When you talk about Watson, when he, you know, all those guys that haven't necessarily had to play in this role. We've got offensive linemen moving in and out. We've got, you know, there are pieces on this team that, as we've seen, it is not the easiest thing already for them to kind of do a lot of the stuff that just adding more to the plate isn't necessarily going to provide the results you want. And as we've pointed out week after week, except for the Jets game, there are just not like there are throws. It's not like the offense isn't able to generate open passing plays. Sean, as we'll keep saying, Sean Payton is still able to draw up some coverage beaters as we see week after week. Like, I mean, again, dude, like we've got repeated wide open cover 2 shots that, again, they're daring us to take in this one. They're every single week we see like, oh man, like I remember week 1 or week 2 where I was like, man, I wish we got to see more QB run game, more of the RPO stuff. Then we ended up watching. I was like, oh shit, like they did. Like it's just kind of like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh man, the offense doesn't have enough. Yes, it would be, as we're seeing, there is probably the ability to create more explosives eventually with the motion stuff involved. But for this current iteration of the offense, it's just not what it is right now, and that's okay. This one's a little bit later in the same drive. This is the really well set up screen.
This was really nice to see live. Really nice. Me and you have been harping on this for, it seems, even going back to the end of last season, where it finally looks like some of these screenplays are, you know, well coached and well blocked. And this is probably the first or second screen that's actually worked out for them this season. So It's just really nice to see it finally happen. And look at Javonte there.
Dude.
You know, we're seeing a little bit of old Javonte burst.
There was some absolute juice from in this game. The one that got me hyped too, watch Quinn. Quinn absolutely starts flying downfield at Spillane. Like, going like that, that's probably a 17-mile-per-hour Quinn Miners right there. I was absolutely jacked when I watched. I almost posted the clip because like that's just a moving gentleman right there. But yeah, also Wattenberg. This was a pretty good Wattenberg game. This was like props where it's due. Yes, there are still some ugly reps, as Patrick will always highlight for all of you over on Twitter. Yes, there were some ugly Wattenberg reps, but there were actually like a few, like 3 to 5 reps in this game where I went, is that Wattenberg? And this is one of them. Like, again, like the dude does have some technique that he can work with. Like he is decent at getting these seals. He is decent sometimes when he wants to get on the move at getting to these reach blocks. But again, we just need to see it more consistency, and we need to stop having we can't have the brutal losses. We got to start losing in prettier ways, as silly as that might sound to people. But yeah, man, Javonte with the run. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, this was one of those, like, probably the first explosive of the year they've gotten out of their jumbo package, because it seems like they just cannot buy a good play out of that. Like, every once in a while, they'll have like a 5-yard carry, and it's like, yay. And then you turn on every other team, and they're coming out in jumbo packages. They're completing like 80-yard touchdowns to Nico Collins. I don't know why Nico Collins is my answer there, but honestly, it's probably accurate. I will also say this is a decent opportunity. And Max Crosby. Max Crosby might be one of my favorite all-time like on a rival team players. Max Crosby is so goddamn good, and he destroys it. It's so funny because I swear every year coming into the Broncos game, it's like, yeah, Crosby's got like a sprained ankle. He broke his wrist last week. He lost an ear. Like he's coming in like Frankenstein monster, and it's like, oh, he's just dominating. Like literally, like he'll just absolutely wreck multiple run plays. He had multiple sacks in this game. This dude is just unfucking real. I love watching Max Crosby play. Sucks that he's a Raider, but that dude is absolutely awesome. And this is one where again, you demand this amount of attention when you're this good. We've got an eligible tackle. We've got then our pulling guy with Nate Adkins. They were doing this all game long where they were just like, please, for the love of God, do not have our fourth string offensive tackle. Or, sorry, one little tangent. Let's do this together. What is Adam Troutman doing one-on-one with Max Crosby on third downs? Sean, we're doing our best.
I don't have an answer for that one. I do not have an answer for that one.
It was one of those where like sometimes people, so I'm behind. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm poor. I'm watching games illegally. I'm watching on the crack streams and the Stream East. I'm not in the chats, but I'm on there. I'm a few seconds behind, so I can't lie. Sometimes I'll read stuff on the Twitters before the stuff happens in the game. I saw someone tweet before the play happens, why is Adam Troutman blocking Max Crosby? And my brain, as the know-it-all football genius, just kidding, that's very sarcastic, I am, I was like, guys, obviously he was just left in to chip Max Crosby. There's no way he was just left one-on-one. And then I watched the play and I said, oh my God.
He was
left one-on-one. And he hit the set, and everything. Like, it was fucking crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, oh my God, like we're really doing this out here. So yeah, I had to take a second to comment on that one. Because what are we doing? What are we doing? That's one of those that, like, thank God the game ended the way it did, because holy shit, if this is a close game and that happens, that's one where everybody's getting out the pitchforks.
And if that was a primetime game, oh man.
Primetime games, they matter more.
To his credit, though, there was one rep. I can't remember what the result of the play was to go back and watch it, but he did a pretty good job blocking Max Crosby one-on-one. He did a pretty good job. I watched it, and I was like, man, maybe he should go out and block every leading edge defender.
It's so funny because Adam Troutman is like he probably doesn't deserve, and like he's literally the guy that just accidentally got too good at his job. Like Sean Payton fell in love with this guy, and then randomly is like, I'm bringing you here to be a starter for 2 straight seasons. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, are you serious, coach? Like, sure. Like I can, and that's not me trying. It is me trying to beat up on little Troutman a little bit, but like he's fine. He's okay at a lot of things. He's probably not above average, I'd say, in really any one area, but he's fine. But it's just, again, like you said, he'll have a couple decent reps every week, and he just doesn't get any appreciation because who's going to get excited about having Adam Troutman on the field? Sadly, not really anybody at this stage in his career. Maybe he'll start turning it on. Sorry, Adam, if you're watching. Just absolutely flambeing this man. Who the hell am I, though? Fuck me, right, Adam? Oh, this was the miss. So this is the wrong play that I have written down, but whatever. This is a fine one to get sad about.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks. And it's a nice throw from Nix. I mean, 45, 50 yards down the field, not necessarily off platform, but off his back foot. But again, Sean Payton made such a big point after weeks 1 and 2 that all the guys around Bo Nix and all the guys in this offense have to start making plays and helping Bo Nix. And, it isn't surprising to see Nix come off the field as hot as he was and to see them go over to the receivers on the sideline. And for everybody who doesn't know, the reason why Nix and Payton and quarterback coach Davis Webb got into that, little exchange on the sideline after this play was because Payton wanted this play ran to the boundary. And Nix ended up flipping this play to the field, which is why Payton said that there's a little bit Ferris Bueller to him. And Ferris Bueller was this mischievous, rebellious kind of guy. And that's the reason why they came off of the field after this play and had that little exchange. And then they all went over to the receivers and all had a little, kumbaya pep talk. But again, it just sucks because we're looking at this performance differently, and it's crazy to say because it's only one play, but we're going back and looking at this performance a little bit differently if this ball is caught.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Again, I mean, you see what, yes, guys, again, motion does end up confusing defenses sometimes, but when you can't connect, you can't connect. Let me ask. So, I mean, we can kind of see here that he hangs over the middle. Do you think if Mims really just like busts this, I don't know where that was going to go, but really just kind of takes the open space here and he's kind of able to get here? Do you think he's trying to push this ball over here? Or do you think he's just always trying to hold the safety and looking to go back sideline?
I think he's looking to go to Franklin the whole way. You can sort of see it from his body language, and Peyton talking about how they wanted to play flipped or didn't want the play flipped kind of makes me think that this was an alert. This post was an alert play, or not the post. The go route was an alert in the progression pre-snap, and Bo just wanted to hit it.
Yeah.
And I want to say Nix after this said that he overthrew Troy Franklin on this play to kind of take the blame off of Franklin, which is a very good thing to do from your rookie quarterback. But this was a good ball. I mean, maybe if you want to split hairs, maybe he overthrew him by an inch, and Franklin could have body caught it, but his Franklin's hands were just too wide to make that catch.
The players know. This is a guy who knows that ball was not overthrown. But yeah, no, 100%. Well, cool. That's good to know. I'm glad you answered that. A decent rep here from Wattenberg, actually being able to stand up Max Crosby. I do think it's really funny that every team does the whole edge rusher lined up over the center thing now. Just like one of them. We see the Myles Garrett quite often. Oh, but yeah, heartbreaker. I will say, and this is something that we've kind of gotten to see at a few different spots throughout the year. I am interested to see how the offense looks minus a Josh Reynolds. Not interested in a way of like, oh man, like in a good way. Like obviously that sucks because Josh Reynolds he's been very productive for this team. He's not going to be, a crazy alpha number one receiver, but I do think it is such a great opportunity for, again, these guys like Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. Hopefully we get to see Devon Valet, a lot of these young guys to get a lot more of these opportunities and hopefully kind of build some trust up with these guys. Because, I mean, I will say, like, again, plays like this suck, but it's also one of those things where, like, we need to keep seeing, like, I'm glad we kept seeing more opportunities given to Troy Franklin throughout this game. I'm glad this wasn't like, oh, this was his one target for the game. He dropped it. Now he's got to live with that until he gets his next target in 2 games or something like that. Like, no, they did keep going back to that. And I think that's important for, again, it's funny because we started out being like, oh, I think this team can make the playoffs. This season is way more about finding these gems and figuring out what these guys can do and what they can't do. So getting the chance to get looks at, as crazy as it sounds, their backup center in Forsyth, their number 5 and number 6 receiver who are on very cheap deals. It's important for this team this season because you'd like to be able to have some building blocks going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important. And to your point about how this offense will look without a guy like Reynolds, it's pretty interesting. And it's going to be interesting to watch because I'm not sure that they have a guy that they trust to make those contested catches over the middle. We talked about on our very first episode this season, I believe it was a preseason game, that they trust Courtland Sutton to make contested catches, but his game is more down the sidelines and outside of the numbers contested catches and not necessarily in traffic. The only guy on this roster that can really make those plays in traffic is Josh Reynolds. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of mold Devon Valet to play that role.
Yeah. And I mean, it's again, another play we don't have written down, but God damn it, can we stop running these double and triple slants and trying to have Bo Nix beat DBs with his arm because he's not doing it and these receivers are not out muscling these corners. We've tried to do it so many times throughout the season, including in this game, and it is brutal. It's brutal to watch. We got to stop doing it, Sean. Please, if you're out there, if you're listening to me, Sean, please, yeah. Joe, slip it under his morning coffee. Leave a little note. It's like, hey, Sean, maybe we stop running triple slants. This is bullshit. We don't have the guys to do it. Yeah, that was my last little thought on the whole. They don't have the guys to make these contested catches over the middle. They do down the sideline, though.
Yeah.
Here we've got set. This one would have been, again, our one dagger rep of the week, but we're missing it. Robbie, go through this one for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just traditional dagger. You're going to get the middle go route, which is going to run off the coverage, and then you're going to get the dig route coming outside the numbers. And they looked like 2-man here, which is a change-up call in today's NFL. They don't necessarily see 2-man much anymore at all, honestly. It's probably about 3% of all defensive calls for any team this season. And they just didn't get what they were looking for. Sutton got a little bit of separation at the top of his route. Nix just threw it a little bit behind him. Maybe there was a throw to be made if you put it on Court's front shoulder, but I'm not sure that anybody on this roster, like we just said, has shown much in traffic to make these contested throws or contested catches to see if this would be a big play or not. But it's so damn funny because they have hit dagger every single week this season. This was the first week that they did not complete a dagger throw.
Well, it's funny too because again, I mean, as we talked about, this is probably the cleanest pocket that he's had on these dagger reps. Like, guys, this is it's a 3-man rush first of all, but probably don't need to drift to the whatever. I will say it is a little bit like it's just weird because as you said, like they've been so on time and consistent with this. I mean, I do wonder, I guess, if it was a little bit like Sutton does kind of run into some traffic at the top of his break and kind of does have a little bit of a hitch, but just a little bit disappointing that again we see Nix just kind of hitch on this like 3 times before we're letting it go. And then again, it lets the DB get back into play, throws a little bit behind him, which again, it's been so weird this season, his inconsistent accuracy from these clean bases. Like again, right here, it's like, like you're not going to completely knock him on, but this is a throw that's like, man, this should be a layup. This should be not, 20 yards down the field, but like this is a perfect pocket. You got to be able to put these balls where they need to go. Oh man, that was bad. And right there, I mean, he's just leaving this one short, putting it behind. I mean, this is honestly a ball where, again, as we saw in week 1, when you're facing corners like Tariq Woolen at times, this is a ball that could get picked off in other weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, heartbreaking to see the only downfield concept that they've been seemingly able to consistently work, and we get to compliment on Bo every week. He missed it this week. Damn it, Bo!
But yeah. It really is like their one play to get big chunk yardage. I mean, Bo's best throw of the season probably came off of dagger and that 35-yard strike against the Jets. I mean, they've hit that literally every single week. And it's not just Denver. Teams across the league are just spamming dagger calls all day on offense. It's crazy to see, honestly.
And again, it's just too bad that Denver doesn't really have that, like, a dominant body to make these catches over the middle and then go break it, because we're seeing so many of those guys have monster years this season. I mentioned him already, but Nico Collins is a guy that you see just have these massive in-breaking routes or these massive posts, and it's just like, oh fuck, like that dude's just that's going to be an absolute freight train to deal with.
Yeah.
So here we've got a play I mentioned earlier. This is the one where this is a good play. This is a good play. I have my nitpicks. This is a good play. This is with 18 seconds before the half. They needed to get some points, and they ended up being able to do it. On the little drive concept here. I have it up, right? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it is another one, though, where he is able to move these defenders with his legs. We have seen him have a decently consistent ability to do that.
Right.
Let's highlight Troy Franklin pointing real quick. Good for the lad.
Oh, man. That...
Good for the lad.
I immediately as I saw that, I tweeted out, I was like, man, nice catch, nice play to get that field goal before half. But, man, we can't celebrate with the ball with 10 seconds left in the half. You got to get to the line. You got to spike that thing.
It is funny just after, like, we really do just have to say, oh, wait. Do we have another monster Javonte Williams blocking rep? Did I not catch this? Oh, beautiful. Oh my God.
Man. Dude,
he's so good,
don't
guys.
Get me started. He is the best pass blocking running back.
People don't get it. Like, I keep saying, I'm like, guys, like, I really think this is an asset for so many teams. Like, look at this dude. Look at this dude. He's putting him in the dirt. Oh my God, that's crazy.
If anything is going to get him a second contract in Denver, it's plays like this. That's it. He doesn't need anything more. It may not be the big money contract, and he may not see it in free agency from other teams, but I promise you, I can guarantee you with absolute certainty that Sean Payton loves reps like this.
I mean, dude, how can't you? I love reps like this.
Exactly.
And like, this is just great football right here. I mean, again, he's so willing to just meet the guy in the lane and just throw him to the turf. I mean, he's just such a willing blocker. It's crazy. I mean, again, this is a guy that, like, it's been said a million times. It's a guy coming off such a major injury he had 2-3 years ago now, and he never lost this. Like, I want that to be emphasized. Yes, there were a little bit of concerns about Javante's burst, whatever as a runner. He never lost his tenacity as a pass blocker. I'll take it back. This is good pocket movement from Nix. I think I'm being a little bit too critical to say he should look to reset here because he really does have like all hell breaking loose to his left. If I saw Max Crosby here, I'm probably stepping up in this one as well. So decent play here to be able to get this away. I'm not going to end up being too upset about it. But again, it is something that I do want to monitor where we just don't see him make the plays where it's, hey, let me do some like I think the best way to put it, and this is gonna sound so snotty because I never fucking played quarterback. You think they were letting me play quarterback on any of the football teams I was on? You're out of your fucking mind. But we need to see some real quarterbacking here, man. Maneuver a pocket. Let me see that Peyton Manning, Tom Brady shuffle, reset, set a solid base, and make a throw. This isn't a great example because, again, you do probably want to look to make a move here, and he is probably defending this or manipulating this defender with his legs. But there are just so many examples where, as we pointed out twice already, just set your feet, throw a more accurate ball. And as I'm saying, again, not a great example, but if you're able to hit Troy Franklin out here instead of back here, first of all, you're getting your team a much easier field goal. And second of all, who the fuck knows, man? Give yourself a chance. This is a guy with a lot of speed. Maybe we work our way up the sideline. I think this was with 18 seconds left. Maybe we're at the 15 with 11 seconds to go. So just another one of those examples where I just want to see it. I just want to see him do it a couple times so I know he can,
Right. And I mean, even if we just see a few of those plays where he stands tall, he resets, he steps up and completely takes away an edge rusher's angle, playing like that in structure mitigates the issues that we're seeing in other areas of his game. Like that will really bring other areas of his game together and really complete. I don't want to say it's just going to magically turn his outlook around, but it's going to make him a more complete quarterback than what we've seen thus far.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, where again, like I watched some Caleb Williams this weekend and like, there's gonna be people that are like, oh, why aren't like, because Caleb shows flashes of that like real quarterback and shit, that real quarterback and stuff. And again, I'm not trying to be like, oh, Bo hasn't had any flashes. There have been some flashes, but this just sounds so picky. They're not my type of flashes, like they're there. I love seeing him have a nice anticipation throw on the outside. Like again, as we probably talked about, that out route he threw like 2 weeks or against the Buccaneers, the on time outside the numbers throw to Sutton. This is probably one of my favorite throws he's had all year. And it's like, I hate that I can name just that one throw. And then it's like dagger throws. He had that red zone touchdown last week, but that was kind of like a gimme. Like, there was, but we'll get to the final throw in this game that I do want to highlight. But this is a running rep. Let me actually just get to the end zone angle here. Well, here, we'll watch it from this angle first. Oh, the running game was working so well this week.
Yeah, and this is something that they've gone to last season with Peyton. They did it a little bit 2 seasons ago with Hackett, and you're seeing it around the league. San Francisco does this a ton where they'll get to their outside zone and they'll get to their inside zone, but instead of a traditional handoff, they'll do a toss action to get the ball to the running back. And what that'll do is, first of all, that gets the ball in the running back's hands quicker, so he can play more downhill and make these cuts faster than he could if it were a traditional handoff. And on these outside zone plays, when you get the ball from a toss action compared to a traditional handoff, the cutbacks are more accessible to the running back. You can work all the way back to the backside of the offensive line and hit gaps that you can't necessarily hit as often and as easy when you're getting it from a traditional handoff. And McLaughlin here on this play, he works it all the way back, and all it takes is one more cut for him to play all the way backside. And that's not something, I mean, yes, you can still get to it with a traditional handoff, but it's harder to access as opposed to getting the ball in your hands from a toss action. Like as soon as Nix tosses this ball to McLaughlin, you paused it at a perfect spot. Just look at where he is when he gets the ball. Like he can work all the way back towards the backside of that run. And that's the reason why teams are starting to get to this toss action opposed to the traditional handoff.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like you said. You just get more grass to work with. You get more of an alleyway to kind of figure out what street you want to go down. Just really good blocking here by the offensive line. This is one of the areas where Quinn is just so good at getting across the face of these. I mean, this isn't really, one of these where he's really having to get downhill, but He's really good at just getting inside on these guys' shoulders, sealing them off. This is a really good, not Palchowski, Wattenberg rep. Another one where he's putting bodies on the dirt. This was also a really good Ben Powers game. Ben Powers is kind of one of those guys that kind of another, I don't want to compare him to Troutman because he's better than Troutman, but another guy that I feel like gets a little bit like, I know he's not flashy, and I'm not saying Ben Powers has been great or like, like really good for this team. He's been fine. Like most of the time, I'm never like, oh man, that fucking Ben Powers guy. Like, yeah, he gives up a couple pressures that aren't great, but there are so many good interior defensive linemen in the league that I'm kind of like, eh. Like, he does his job in the run game most of the time. He's fine in pass pro. Is he elite? No. Is he great? No. But like, again, you need 5 solid players, and he is a solid player to me. So just wanted to kind of highlight that because this is, I think, one of the few games where you can really be like, man, Ben Powers was like, I think probably one of their better, maybe one of the best, probably the best offensive linemen, honestly, on the team. Actually, Garrett Bowles had a really good game in this one as well.
Yes. He's having a really good bounce back couple of games after the way his season started.
But yeah, like you said, just having the space to be able to work these cutbacks is so big for this running back room. Jaleel. It'll be interesting seeing, like, let me ask you this. What do you think that they should do? I'll just make you the GM. What should they do at running back this offseason?
Honestly, man, I know it isn't all that inspiring to say given the results that we've seen, but I really wouldn't hate if they just stuck with it. Maybe invested a day 3 pick into it, throw another guy like that into the mix, give Javonte a second contract. Again, you're not paying him a ton of money. I'm not sure that he'll get that out in the open market anyways. Bring him back on like a 2-year, $13-14 million type of contract. And I'm not sure that they're missing out on a ton if they don't go out and say draft one in the first round or in the second round. I think they can really hit their potential with this running back room as it is, especially with Javonte hitting the ground running as he has to bounce back on this specific season.
It's interesting because, like, I really see it going so many ways. Like, again, I mean, as we've talked about, Javonte will be a big decision for this team. They have a lot of young guys that we'll have to see if anyone can really just like take the reins. Like, it really does feel like the room, like, again, Javonte's really got a hold of his role, but like, it's not like it's just him. Like, they are willing to kind of give these guys opportunities. As we saw, if you have a fumble, it seems like they're going to be willing to kind of slide you down and give these other guys a shot because it seems like they do want to try to find a lot of these gems in the rough where I could see them, like you said, completely just sticking with the room they have. Sean being his egomaniac self and just saying, I can make it work with what I've got. Excuse me. And then on the other hand, I was looking back at like a lot of like the Saints draft history. I think about what the team like kind of is right now. And I really think like what they want to be. And I'm like, man, this team, like, don't get me wrong, it has to be obviously the right player. But when we talk about, like, I mean, we've said this so many times, what they need to have in this offense, these offenses, like, while a big flashy X receiver is kind of what everybody kind of, I think, dreams of for their offense, that's not what this offense needs. More often than not, I think we're seeing Sean Payton use Matt Harmon calls it this a lot on the Football 301 show, sacrificial X. He really just has his X receiver just kind of running a very minimal route tree. They're not really asked to do too much. This passing game, as we see, and as a lot of people hate, is predominantly tight ends, running backs, and slot receivers. So as great as it would be to, again, add, whatever top pick at the receiver room, and as much as I would like to see insert great receiver running, a billion choice routes next year for Sean Payton, I think if you were to say, hey, man, we really want to add an upgrade to this this weaponry, this offense, to really kind of take this thing to the next level, I really do think it would end up being either something in that running back room, and as boring as that might sound for people, Sean Payton's going to use that back in the passing game. If Sean Payton's burning a high pick on a guy, like his high picks in New Orleans were Mark Ingram, great passing game back. I believe he was there when they took Pierre Thomas, another great passing game back. He might have actually been like a day 3 pick. I don't remember if he was there when they took Reggie Bush. I think that was like 2006. I don't know if Sean was there yet, but regardless, they have always invested very good premium into the running back position, and it has never been just like a one-dimensional type of guy. So I really think there is the possibility that, hey, you want a receiver? Well, shit, maybe he'll just take a running back that can kind of play receiver, and we're probably going to see that guy split out as we're seeing fucking Michael Burton do this season.
Yeah, that is one thing that they are desperately missing. We talked about going into the season that they just really need a guy who can be a matchup nightmare in the backfield, and they don't quite have that yet. They have a bunch of guys who can run the basic route tree. They can run screens. They can do all these little things, decently, but they don't have a guy who can really. They don't have a weapon in the red zone, which would really, really bail them out on a lot of plays that we see, especially through 6 weeks of this season. But they just really need a matchup nightmare back there in the backfield, and a guy like Kamara that's Sean Payton drafted in New Orleans, and all these different guys that you brought up. They just really need a weapon back there.
Yeah. Alrighty, next play I've got another here. I'll just let it play first before I make the comment.
Yeah.
What did I dial on that pass?
This one, I'll give him a slight pass for this one. And I mean, that sounds terrible. Like I'm the end all be
this is the
all when it comes
Troutman.
to, yeah. So I understand him not hitting this whole shot here because of the late rotation and because of the immediate pocket collapse that he saw here. So I'm not going to harp on him for not hitting that whole shot. But again, it is there. It is positive that he wanted to work this stick route to the strong side to Humphrey, and it just got squeezed. That corner was playing on the outside of him. He had a corner on the inside of him, and I'm not sure that he pulls this ball down week 1 and week 2. So it is a positive to see him, just pull it down and live to fight another down. It would have been nice to see him read the rotation and know that he can have a whole shot working to the strong side, especially with that safety coming from depth. He's coming all the way from the box. But again, with the immediate pocket collapse, I'll give him a little bit of a pass for that one.
Look at fucking Troutman, man. Look at this shit goes here. This is a Senior Bowl rep. Like, this is fucking fantastic. Oh my god. He gives it his like, hey man, like that. He had to have been pissed. Like his ass is sit. Are you fucking kidding me? Like his inner monologue right now is so angry at Sean. Are you fucking kidding me? Bring me out here, fucking have me blocking Max Crosby 1-on-1. Yeah, no, I think I was definitely being too harsh. My note was literally just like missed whole shot, but like, no, obviously this pocket does end up collapsing. One comment I do want to make, we like to make our little play predictions a little bit in these. We're gonna see the sticking up at some point where they have little Jordan Humphrey run that stick out of the slot and have him break up field, and it's gonna be a mess. It's probably only gonna be like a 27-yard game, and they'll end up kicking a field goal at the end of the drive, and I'll still be like, hey, but hey, it's coming, guys. I'm letting you all know. And once again, hey, let's go, Michael Burton, third down back blocking.
Yep. This makes me think that I'm not sure. It's tough. I want to say that Burton was supposed to chip and help Troutman there, but he ended up seeing that mugged up linebacker drop and thought he had to get right out into the route. I want to say this is supposed to be a chip and release from Burton. With the way he scanned the line of scrimmage before getting out into his route, I just can't live with the fact that Sean Payton had Adam Troutman out there on an island against Max Crosby. I believe Burton was supposed to chip and release there. But
I can watch it all day. It's so fucking funny. And no, I think you're absolutely correct because again, and this is no disrespect to Mike Burton, you're probably not having Mike Burton in on a third down to not block anybody. I'd assume that he's supposed to at least put his hands on some poor soul out there. And just doesn't end up doing that. We've got kind of just a murdered rep here. And this was the other one where, again, I was going to say missed whole shot, but as we've kind of pointed out, not too much of a miss. We'll let it pass for now, Nixie. But so help me, if I see more goddamn cover 2 not get covered. So I think I've got like 2 more Knicks dropbacks, but now we'll get into a little bit of the defense and the greatest cornerback of all time. No, I'm just kidding. In the league. Patrick Surtain. 2 interceptions today, Robbie.
It is not debatable anymore. It really isn't. And I hate to sound like a homer, but I don't even think it is. It's not debatable at all.
Oh, it's not even close.
This is a 14-point swing play here.
And what's so funny, I think they said he was going like 21 miles per hour. This is just he's just such a freak, dude. Like the way it looks like he's lightly jogging. Like that was the part where I was watching this. It does not look like he's trying to score a touchdown. That looks like me when it's like raining outside and I just take the garbage into the dumpster and I get back inside before like I get too cold. Like This is not a man who is interested, but he's just Terminator sprinting. Oh,
Yeah.
God, what a player. But yeah, now
What
we'll
an
get into it a
athlete.
little bit. So you've got a heavy play, action play. Which down is this? This is 1st and 5. They've had a hell of a drive here. Denver's just playing a 5-man front. They're doing a lot of this. Sorry, you go.
No. I was just going to say they had Bowers underneath and just sailed it. Even if they did get at the Bowers, Surtain's coming down to make that play. We've seen him play so well in space and be such a good tackler this season that I don't think he gets in either way.
Well, I think this is one too. I think Jonah Ellis does somewhat affect this throw. Like I do think Gardner Minshew would probably in a perfect world like to lay this out here, but there is obviously a very tall human standing right there with his arms in front of him. He's like, oh, I got to loft this. Just ends up throwing it straight to PS2. But man, like offenses have been trying to fool Patrick Surtain since he got in the league. And it's easy to think it's what just blows my mind about him the most is that the dude is just so patient. He is never out of phase. I've seen this man get beaten on a double move one time in his entire career. It was by fucking Devontae Adams in overtime. And that'll happen because it's Devontae goddamn Adams. But look at how he shuts down this play for Jacoby Myers. They are showing heavy run here, but he ends up just I think he ends up reading that this receiver's coming across, or he ends up seeing the tight end slipping by. You see his kind of head cocked down, oh hell no, this is a pass. And Jacoby Myers is I think what also kind of revealed this as well. Sorry, this is me randomly because this was kind of my thoughts.
No, you're good.
Jacoby Myers isn't going to block anybody here. We see Sternad really work his way down the line of scrimmage, so he's looking to crack down here, but there's no one here. So I think that is also a little bit of a tell to Surtain, what the hell? This isn't unless he's trying to work his way up to the safety, which I don't know, maybe, but I feel probably not. You probably know okay, this is looking to come backside, especially as you see this tight end come over. But just and I'm so glad they picked up the flag. Thank God, because this is just such a I'll say it a lot of times. I played corner, not well, but I played it. I got to see my corners eat, bro. This is a DB making a play. He has every right to that football. He has as much right to it as that receiver. And this is him making a play on this football. And God damn it, it was beautiful. And in these unis too. Oh, let's take a oh my God, those uniforms. Oh,
so damn nice. So clean.
Oh, they were just so goddamn good. Just so goddamn good. Just every angle of them looked fantastic. Every player. And again, you look good, you play good. It really did seem like the guys were just responding to the energy they had out there. Absolutely sick. But yeah, this is an incredible play by Patrick Surtain here. We'll get to the end zone angle. We'll get to see what Jonah Ellis does here, running up to the guy. But yeah, man, I mean, like you said, this was, this is going to be overreacting. This might be one of the biggest swing plays we've seen in Denver in the past, however many years.
Yeah,
this is truly again, as we were saying, this game felt like it was going to be one of those. We were dreading this game. What's the score right here? This is a 10-9 ball game. It's the second quarter, 9 minutes left.
It was 10-3.
About to score a touchdown. Oh, was it 10-3? Okay,
yeah,
excuse me.
The pick six made it 10-9.
Okay. This is 10-3. This is sluggish as hell. We're all down in the dumps. To have a play like this in a moment like this, and again, we'll point this out too. I mean, this is such a big part of it too. You cannot fucking run on this team, dude. Look, obviously, again, this is play action. Look at the disruption Malcolm Roach gives to this guard. Zach Allen is destroying this double team. Who is Zach Allen? What? Who are you? And then yeah, we've just got Jonah Ellis running this stuff down. But man, what a play on the ball. What a player.
This is a play that's going to follow Surtain for the rest of his season, the rest of his career. I mean, 100%. You see plays like Champ Bailey with that 100-yard pick six against Tom Brady is going to follow him for the rest of his life. It just was his defining highlight. I think this is Patrick Surtain's defining highlight.
I'm going to go on a little tangent. I got a 30-second tangent.
Go ahead.
So I posted a clip of this pick six, and I posted the Champ Bailey's pick six because random story. Champ Bailey pick six is the first Broncos play I remember as a child sitting down and watch. That was the first one where I was football, that was where it clicked. I posted a clip, those two clips. I was oh my God, history repeats. I have these plays are nothing alike. Champ Bailey didn't even score. What the fuck are you talking about? It's a 100-yard interception. Leave me the fuck alone, you goddamn bullies. You goblins, get away from me. There were like 3 people who said, I was like, what are we talking about here? These are objectively very similar plays. The best corner in the league had a 100-yard interception return for the Denver Broncos. Lick my ass. This is ridiculous. So yeah, I just had to, any of you, these are nothing alike. Champ Bailey didn't score on his. What? Enjoy the game. Sorry, I had to, because that one pissed me off.
No, talk your shit, brother.
Talk my shit. Let's go, PS2.
There was not a soul on earth who was stopping Jonah Ellis from driving Gardner Minshew into the deepest depths of hell on that play.
That's the play that got Gardner benched. I heard that was the one that got Gardner benched. They were like,
I would not
nah,
blame
bro, you
Antonio
getting put in the
Pierce.
dirt like that? Get the fuck out of here. We're getting Aiden in there. He's laying him out. Out. Oh, my God. Incredible. All right. So next I wanted to highlight a DJ Jones run stuff just because DJ Jones, I don't remember if we talked about it a little bit last week. Thank God they kept this man, guys. Like, DJ Jones was such a, like, again, they were going to have to make a lot of tough decisions this offseason with, the obvious dead cap situation, whatever. The defensive line of this team last year had so many problems. And I think a lot of people unfairly put that on the people that weren't doing bad. Guys, DJ Jones was fine last year. Like, what's funny is by the numbers, he had a better year last year than his first year. You know what the difference was? DJ Jones went from being like the 3rd or 4th player on the defensive line, like he is this year, to, this is our 2nd guy. And behind him, like, fuck, dude. So I just wanted to point that out because he has been playing really well. Like, he is, again, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper getting a lot of the shine. But guys like DJ Jones and Malcolm Roach have been phenomenal players.
100%. And all offseason, I remember it so vividly. It was me and you stationed on the front lines in the trenches arguing that DJ Jones is not washed and he's still a good football player. And we're seeing that on full display this season. Such a good damn player.
And, like, man, again, when we talk about, like, this is the direction the league is heading with these teams just spamming duo and trying to smash. Guess what DJ Jones is really good at? Beating double teams. That's literally what look at what he does on this play. Like, it's so consistent. We're like, man, you're playing a 4 down front and you're able to stop runs like this?
Yep.
Like this? We're doing this? This guy is overpaid? What?
That's a big boy NFL play.
That's a big boy NFL play. Like, oh, God. And again, like, we've talked about how Sternad and Cody Barton have been looking pretty good these past couple weeks filling in. You know why? Because they're clean every single rep. Look at how hard it is for this guard or this center to get to the 2nd level because, oh, shit, DJ Jones is absolutely pumping my guard. Just bench pressing his ass right into the running back. So, yeah, DJ Jones. Fucking love that player.
Very good player.
Out of all the signings they've had over, like, this era of not funness, he's one of the few that, like, from the moment they signed him, I was like, nice, this is going to be fun to have. And he has been. He's lived up to everything I want him to be. I know there's probably people that are like, he can't rush the passer. Yeah, no shit. Have you ever, like, that's not what he does. That's what he does. He makes it hard as fuck for every team to run the ball. And, like, you need those guys.
And the 49ers have missed him since. You know how badly the 49ers would want to play like DJ Jones on the interior of their defensive line right now?
I'm pretty sure weren't there reports last year they were trying to get him back at the trade deadline. Like, guys, we're not making it up that these are good players that the league likes. Like, nah, man, like, people recognize this shit. I remember when Joey said Joey was at the Senior Bowl last year and he was talking to a Browns defense. I think it was the defensive line coach for the Browns or someone who works for the Browns defense. I don't know. I'm not going to name drop him. But he was talking to him in a bar and he was talking about the Broncos pass rushers. And guess who that guy's favorite Broncos pass rusher was? Let's talk Broncos favorite for the past 4 years, Jonathan Cooper. Not, and again, this isn't me trying to beat up on the flashier Nick Bonitos and Baron Brownings on the world, but guys, these consistent, technical, down-to-down, play a shit ton of snaps for you guys, they mean so much to your team. And it's like their value can't really be measured by just like, oh, are we paying them too much? It's like, nah, dude, like you'd rather have those guys in the building, genuinely. As crazy as that might sound, it is just worth it to have guys like that in the room.
Preach. This was just another good
same play. That's my bad. I think this is the exact same play.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
They had 2 or 3 similar reps. They had big
So I
games.
thought I wrote down the wide zone toss rep that Javante did.
Javante, right. He had one
All
as
right, I'll
well.
go to the next one and then we'll bounce back. Hold on. So let's go 1251 Q3. So Riley Moss.
Another damn good player.
He might be a Pro Bowler. Like I was really here's the thing. I'm Broncos pilled. I try my best to be objective, but it's tough. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, fuck. They might have 2 Pro Bowlers at corner. Zach Allen's making a Pro Bowl. Jaquan McMillan could damn near push for it. Brandon Jones is putting up good numbers. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, Jonathan Cooper's got a lot of sacks. Like, this might be a year where they're pumping like 3-4 guys from one side of the ball into the Pro Bowl. And like, that sounds crazy. But like, again, you look at it, it's kind of like, well, shit. Like, who else are you going to put in there? Like, the national media is starting to recognize there is not a better corner duo than Riley Moss. Or than Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss. Almost forgot a very important ingredient in that duo. But like, I am hard pressed to not agree. I think there's a very good one in New York. But when we talk about the challenge that these guys are given week after week, I mean, guys, look at this play. Look at how much Vance Joseph trusts these corners. Look at what Patrick Surtain has to do here. And then watch Riley Moss. Watch Patrick Surtain the first time. Do you know how fucking hard of a play that is? You know how much trust you need from your coach to be trusted? Hey, they're running a tight. This guy's motioned in tight. We're probably getting a look where he's going to have to run across. You're going to have to run through a lot of traffic. Now watch Riley Moss. This is Trey Tucker, by the way. I believe this guy ran a 4.3 Oh, my God.
Hip to hip.
Oh, my God. Like, that's a fucking like clinical rep, dude. Like genuinely, like this is awesome. I rewatched this rep and I was so fucking happy because I was really just like, holy shit. Like this is textbook. Like you said, hip to hip, able to kind of collapse on the out. And then you just see the pure athleticism. Like, man, they are not lacking at all in the CB room right now. You know, it is so fucking awesome. So shout out to Riley Moss.
Yeah,
I watch over.
So impressive just playing in phase. Like even on some of the plays where he gets beat, like in the Seattle game, he got beat down the sideline by Tyler Lockett on a jump ball. He was perfectly in phase the entire way down the field. And just we're going to hear this name a lot, but huge credit to Jim Leonard for the technique that he has instilled in Riley Moss. And I'm not going to say that he's the one who is solely responsible for it, but just the way that Riley Moss is playing right now and how clean he is in all the technical aspects of the cornerback position, which is such a volatile position to play in the NFL. It really goes to show how good of a job that this entire coaching staff is really doing. He's a genuine good player. This isn't a guy who was on a streaky 6 games. Like he looks like a genuine good player.
And I mean, we talked about it, guys. The opposite, and he's talked about it. The corner opposite Patrick Surtain is gonna get tested, and he comes fucking ready. If he has a bad rep, he does not give a shit. He's coming back the next rep and strapping you up. I also want to highlight Jonathan Franklin Myers here because it was interesting. Going into this game, I watched a little bit of the Raiders, and Colton Miller had been struggling against kind of more of these power rushers. Like he had a rough game against Khalil Mack. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. But he had been having a rough game against a lot of these guys that are just long arming, bull rushing straight into their quarterback. It seems like he hadn't been having some issues with his anchor to start the year. This was a rep where I was like, nice. Denver, I think, is finally starting to, again, they've used John Franklin Myers in kind of a lot of ways, but recognizing like, hey, man, again, we want to have him aligned inside. This guy who wants to play primarily inside, fine. But there are times where you can kind of, again, this isn't outside, you're still playing an odd front here, but where if you can get him lined over guys that might have weaker anchors or over offensive tackles like this, he is going to be able to create disruption in the pocket right here. I mean, again, this is a pure pressure. Like Gardner Minshew is not able to step into this throw as much as he wants to be able to. And yeah, so Jonathan Franklin Myers had another really good week, and I want to say, like, I'm really glad to see, like, after he's kind of on that Zach Allen, not as much, but where last year first 3 weeks, I was kind of like, yeah. And then he kind of started to gain some steam. And now I'm kind of like, okay, like let's keep building on this. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, look at any highlight play for this defense, and you'll see the person getting targeted who is putting out a great rep. You'll see somebody on the interior who is putting out a great rep to get pressure, and you'll most likely see somebody on the edge who's getting pressure as well. Like the entire unit is playing insanely well right now. This is like hands down, just this season, the best secondary in football. I don't think it's arguable with the way that Brandon Jones is playing, Riley Moss is playing, Patrick Surtain, Jaquan McMillan. This is the best secondary in football. I don't think it's close, honestly.
It's so cool because I just don't know. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I remember watching games like the past few years. We'd be like, God, can someone get a pressure, please? Like, Jesus, like Mahomes has been sitting in there for 8 seconds. He's running in circles. Everyone's tired. The DBs can't hold on any longer. This is fucking horrendous. Now it's just like you said, this is going to sound like, I don't think there's really a player right now on the defense. Honestly, now that I've thought about it, I actually feel pretty confident. I don't think there's a player on the defense right now that you can say is having a bad year. Do you know how hard that is to say about an entire side of the ball? I can't think of one. Their corners are all playing at a great level. PJ Locke's had a couple moments where he's not doing great, but he's also had a really couple of good flashes. Like, he's been a fine player. Brandon Jones, you said, has been good. Their linebackers down to their fifth linebacker. Because what? They've got Singleton's hurt. Barton's looked good. Sternad has looked good. They've had Welch look good in some moments. Is there anyone else I'm missing in that room?
No, just I think it's down to Welch.
Yeah. And then your defensive line, like Jordan Jackson's giving you some moments. He's the only guy that's like, like at that lower end, as we've talked about literally all the other guys. And the edge room, the guy you're giving the least amount of snaps to is like Jonah Ellis and Andrea Tillman. And even those guys have had their moments. Like, it's crazy how like all of it is coming together for that unit. Like, it is so it's so fun to watch every single week. Like, it's one like I feel like it's heartwarming. It's genuinely like, it's like, oh, like I can feel this way again. Not again, but like, oh, like fuck yeah. Like, it's just, I'm excited as hell every week to just see what they did, no matter what. But all right, let's get into our guy, Little Jordan Humphrey, Yak God, the king.
It's so crazy what he's turned into. Like, he was this practice squad guy that Sean Payton kept around for emergencies, and now he's probably the best yak guy on this roster right now. It's really insane. And they've gotten to this little bubble RPO so much this season, and nobody has really been able to turn it into positive yardage much, except for Lil Jordan Humphrey.
And so I want to point out too, this was the first, or was this the second week? Greg Dulcich isn't active this week, who we've talked at length about. A big issue with Greg Dulcich is you can't really run a lot of these screen calls to his side because, as we've been seeing, he just gets blown back by defensive backs. And this is an opportunity right here where Nate Atkins doesn't do a ton here. This isn't like, oh man, he bodied this guy. But this is just enough that we're able to open up a lane and give our guy a one-on-one opportunity. Let me get it from the end zone angle. But this is one of those plays where I said in the preseason where I was like, oh man, like I think I said about Lucas Kroll there. I was like, guys like Nate Atkins have value on this team because this team runs a lot of shit where they need blockers. They need downfield blockers. Oh, this freezes, of course. Let's get it right. Oh, my God. But as you can see, he's able to get 39 out of the way. 39 is not able to be a factor in this play at all, even though, he gets skinny right next to him. Like, you can see right there. 39 is not able to even get an arm out on Lil Jordan Humphrey. That's because we have a guy like Nate Atkins on the field and not trying to beat up on him, not having Greg Dulcich on the field, who has just been a tell and a disaster on a lot of the run and screen plays this season. That did get a little mean. But yeah, Little Jordan Humphrey, man, what a player.
It really is crazy. It really is.
And hey, roll only getting bigger every single fucking week. Now Josh Reynolds is out. Like, he is oh my God, dude. It is really like his fucking year, bro. Like, I love it. I find it so funny that like they gave him Chris Manhurt's job. Now they gave him Greg Dulcich's job. Not like he's all over the place. Really one of the greatest players. That's the guy that like I think if we could have any like there's a list of like players that specifically would be incredible FFR guests. He would be near the top of that list because I would just love to shoot the shit with him.
I would die to have him on here.
He's got to have like, dude, He's got to have some hilarious stories about just like, dude, the guy literally just like gets to chill on the practice squad, then gets to bounce up every week. He's taking like 70 snaps a game. Guy's just Sean Payton's homie, like constantly just gets brought around on the squad. Like, he's got some great stories in the club dub days.
100%. And he really might end the season like second in targets behind Sutton, which is insane.
After week 3, he led the team in missed tackles forced. He was higher than all the running backs. Like, the guy is a fucking machine. He's too good. He's too good. All right. Now we've got one more. Oh my God, dude. What is Patrick teaching this man? Patrick's giving him the recipes, bro. But he's not letting recipes be forgot. He's like, nah, bro, when they try to hit you with a double move, you don't fall for that shit even a second. Which, to be honest, again, I will say this is Trey Tucker again, who we already saw given a double move in the first half. And I'll say, like, you'll probably hear me say that this is just elite film study by Patrick Surtain. Why does he never get fooled by these double moves and these offensive tendencies? Because he fucking knows, guys. He fucking knows. And it seems like Riley Moss is picking up that same shit because look at this. First of all, great stab, disrupt that release off the line of scrimmage. Work with him, keep the eyes on the hip. This shit live was so fun to see.
It's just such great technique. Like the way, like you said, he takes the stab, but after the stab, he'll keep his hand on the inside hip. And when you have your hand on the inside hip like that, you can kind of predict any sudden movements from the receiver. You can predict these double moves. It's something that Surtain, again, like you said, Surtain is teaching Riley Moss, and being around Patrick Surtain is rubbing off on Riley Moss because that's how he plays these double moves. He gets the initial stab, then he keeps the hand on the hip where he can predict any double move movement, and he just plays so well in phase down the field. It's just so fun to watch. And look at this defense when he catches this pick. Look at the Denver players when he catches this pick.
The entire team, bro.
They're so bought in.
Like we've talked about it, the reactions on the sidelines and after plays, and I've said it, like, bro, I love Trayvon Smith. I will continue to say it. He has been such a glue guy for the special teams unit. But I mean, we talked about it last week. When a big play happens, when the final, what was it? The play last week where they got the sack to end the game against Rodgers.
PJ Locke?
Yeah, the PJ Locke sack. Trayvon Smith's the first guy on the field. Look who's the first guy on the field here. Who's this? Is this Skinner running out there? Like all these dudes. And I will say, like, I mean, the offense gets excited, but it's the look who's on the field right here. Look who's running. I mean, it's a defensive play. I get it. But these defenders get so excited for each other. They're always, even the like fourth string guys off the bench. This is Devon Key running onto the field to hype up his man. Like, this shit's awesome. It gets me really excited to see, like, these guys clearly are so, like you said, they're just bought into Vance Joseph.
1000%. And it really just, it's evident on the field with the way that they play. Like, Vance is putting these guys in positions to where they can play so freely. And it must be, again, we just got to have a guy on here because it must be so fun to play in a defense like this where you can play so freely and so aggressively, and you can play this attack style defense in a league where teams are playing the opposite.
Yeah, man. It's awesome. I finished our list, but I had one more play I wanted to go through because it was one I thought of. It was one I didn't love when I watched it. I want to hear your opinion of it. So this is the one where this is the Jaleel McLaughlin touchdown. So, of course, it's going to fucking freeze. It's going to freeze again. We got through. So, and this is purely me asking because I was curious. Do you think this is always meant to work to the flat here? Like, are you just always meant to try to, like, just eye this and go down here? Because what upset me about this play is I was worried this is another one where it's like, hey, if read one is, hey, let's hit Troutman on this little sit right here in between the zones, I would love to, again, see him work that because I think this was a 3rd and 4. This is a 3rd and 4. So I was a little concerned going back and being like, man, this is another one of those where if the design is purely because we've seen this before where they have the guy go to the flat, they run out with Burton in front. If this is by design and it's always going here, that's whatever. But it was one of those where I was wondering if you had a similar thought of just seeing Troutman run over the middle and kind of turn down. I don't know. Gave me a little bit of an uneasy feeling. What do you think?
I think this is always designed to go to McLaughlin. And the reason I say that is because you have all these routes working away from it. And you have all these routes that are dragging defenders away from that window. And you look to where Nix is looking off the snap. You have Reynolds who's working sort of back to that corner, but there's nothing underneath that would hold that corner underneath him. So there's really no world where number 0, that cornerback to the field, wouldn't would have something to pull him away from the underneath area under Josh Reynolds. So I'm not sure why Knicks would be looking over there because there's nothing again to hold that corner. There's really no world where he would ever go from underneath Josh Reynolds on that route. So I think he's just moving defenders to the middle of the field the same way that all these different routes are. And the way Burton just immediately goes to the block makes me think that this was always designed to go to McLaughlin.
Cool. This is why I'm always glad to get to ask this stuff. But I'm glad we got to see this kind of have success because this is something we saw. I mean, we talked about this a lot in the preseason. Like, this is kind of more of that pistol stuff, kind of some interesting ways they can kind of get into some of these, quick, flat concept looks without always having to do the same type of stuff. And yeah, I mean, this is a great Mike Burton play. This was a really good Mike Burton game overall.
Of course. I mean, one of the greatest athletes to ever grace a football field.
Maybe the best fullback of all time. I'll be honest, and I'm kind of wondering it here now as I'm watching this. I did not think that this was a touchdown live. I thought for sure this was going to end up being a backwards pass and a run, and I'm still convinced this might be a backwards pass. Nah, it's probably right there. They gave it to him. We'll take it. But yeah, I was like, oh, they're being generous. We'll take that. But that was my first thought when I saw it. But yeah, I mean, Jaleel has really been a fantastic red zone weapon since he's gotten on this team. Like, he just seems to find his way to the paint every single time.
That's his second touchdown this season on a player that looked like it should in no world be a touchdown.
This was a game too. And I mean, again, we just talked about how every level the Broncos defense has been playing really well. And this isn't me trying to beat up on these Raiders players. The Raiders linebackers had a rough game. Sean Payton's been having a really good year of just beating the shit out of linebackers. They've been having a really tough time keeping up with a lot of the stuff he's hitting them with, which is just kind of how the NFL is nowadays. You're just trying to manipulate the middle of the field. But I say all that to say that's why it's so important that Denver's linebackers are looking so good at depth too, because you really need to have three guys that can play linebacker right now, at least to stop the run. You need to be able to match personnel. And Denver doesn't really have to too much because of how good their defensive line is playing. But having guys like Cody Barton, who we're going to keep pointing out every single week, he just makes so many plays in coverage. I know it, like the way Vance weaponizes him as a hot dropper is elite. And it shouldn't even really be called a hot dropper for him because he's doing it 15 yards down the field and he's taking away like posts. But like the dude is just so good at just getting backwards from a mugged perspective and just taking away the first read. And that's this defensive line is just too good. Where I just want to highlight like how I think important it is that this team does have good linebacker play right now. And the difference, and we're seeing it in a lot of these teams they're facing in when sadly teams don't have great linebacker play, because there were a lot of missed tackles from those Raiders linebackers in this one.
Yeah. And it really drives a lot of what Vance Joseph wants to do with his fronts. Like it's super important to have guys who can play with that kind of multiplicity where they can add to the front and they could add to the pressure path if they need to, and they can also spot drop and they can also match coverage down the field. Like they can do a bunch of these different things, and they have guys, like you said, down the depth chart that can do it. Like Alex Singleton, for as polarizing as he is in the fan base as a player, like that's a loss. That's a real loss for this defense, and it hasn't looked like they missed a beat. Like that's just a credit to the depth that they've built in that linebacker room.
Yeah, I will say, like like you said, it hasn't been a loss. We haven't really noticed it. There are times where they are running like these inside linebacker blitzes, and like Alex Singleton knocked the shit out of running backs. Cody Barton doesn't quite do that, but like you said, I mean, their ability to just seem to put guys in the right spot on the defensive side of the ball to properly like, hey, this guy is really good at doing this. He struggles at doing this. Let's only put him in a position where he's doing this, has just been fantastic. Like really just hats off to that entire group, because again, like Vance Joseph has been awesome. We've talked about Vance Joseph so much, but it seems like just such a collective effort right now. Like all the, like Jim Leonard seems to be having the entire defensive back room playing at such a high level, both in the run game and in the pass game. The linebacker room has looked fantastic this year, as we'll keep talking about. The pass rushing along the entire defensive front, which I think they brought in, I want to say Jamar Cain was a new hire this year. Maybe he was last year, but I want to say they brought him as a pass rush specialist. I know I follow a few of the coaches of theirs on Twitter too that do a lot of their stuff, but like those dudes are working, because we are just seeing, we're seeing it. We see it every single week. We're done with the film here for today. Sorry for anyone who was, do we say any thoughts? Any closing thoughts? Where are you at on Bo Nix after 5 starts?
You know, It's kind of up and down, and it's a perfect way to kind of piggyback off of what you said last week and 2 weeks ago that Bo Nix's development this season is not going to be linear. You're going to have a game where it might be up. You're going to have a game where it might be down. You're going to have another game where it might be down. But he's shown a lot of things where you can be comfortable, and he's shown to where his floor is tangible. That's one thing I'll say with Bo Nix. His floor is tangible. You can see and you can watch him and know, okay, this is what the floor of an offense could look like. To me, I'm not sure that we have seen enough of the flashes to where the ceiling might look like an offense to where they can, just constantly make big plays. And that's not to say that Bo Nix just isn't that player. It's just for a number of reasons we just haven't seen it yet. His accuracy to this point has been a plus. His mechanics to this point have been a plus. At least his upper half mechanics. His lower half mechanics get a little wonky sometimes, especially in the pocket. He can drift a little bit, and he can drift himself into pressure a lot. And this is probably one of his worst games, drifting himself into pressure, as opposed to the other 5 games of the season. But I mean, like, I don't want to say it's a negative, but it isn't necessarily a positive. But we're seeing him play so clean to where he isn't winning the game, but he definitely isn't losing the game, and he's a really big part of why this team has gone 3-2 so far and why they've railed off 3 wins so far. And it's because in these 3 wins, he hasn't turned the ball over. He's on his 3rd straight week of no turnovers, which is super clean. You just want to hope that, the scale kind of balances out. And while you're having those no turnover players, you're having those big time throws and you're having those plays down the field and those splash plays as well.
I think you put it perfectly, man. I wish there was a bit more. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a touch disappointed so far. We're 5 weeks in. I think we haven't necessarily had a lot of the I think we were all kind of optimistic that this could be a top, a top 20 offense overall. I think the offense as a whole has been a little disappointing so far. But I think, like you said, there is kind of a floor to be had here. I think you can operate a functional NFL offense with him at the helm. I think he has done a good job, like you said, of limiting the compounding errors. It is a thing where, again, with how they need to win games right now, with how well the defense is playing, with the running game starting to look a little bit more lively, you are able to win that way. And it is good, I guess, that we're seeing him understand how to win this way. But it is one of those things also where it's kind of like, man, you didn't, and this is gonna sound like such a negative tagline that they'll probably use on one of the radio stations, but you didn't hire Sean Payton and draft a quarterback in the top 15. And again, it's too early to make these claims, but you didn't do all that to have your defense be carrying the team. That is not something that you want to have to be the recipe for the next however many years, because again, that is just kind of not what we invested in. If that ends up being what it is, I guess that'll be kind of what they have to figure out. But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to be super. And again, I'm a really big Sean Payton guy, but it's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to be super optimistic about the job Sean Payton is doing when you look and it's kind of like, okay, well, this offense, I think, maxes out this year as the 18th best. And that's probably a very optimistic look at it, as sad as that might sound. And it's kind of like, fuck, okay, is it going to get a lot better next year? We hope. I hope that adding, surrounding talent helps. But if the problem ends up being, man, Bo Nix just kind of keeps your offense from ever being a top half offense in the league, gets a little bit dicey. I did want to, so we don't have to really go through these, but I did want to highlight this one we don't talk about. I want to talk about the second one because I remembered that there was a good throw in this game I do want to look at. This is the sideline throw, which this is a good throw. I have a really hard time getting too hyped about sideline. 9 routes down the sideline are hard to get super hyped about. I know a lot of people are going to say this. Yes, accurate throw, does a good job putting on Sutton's body, whatever. This is going to sound so haterish. NFL quarterback should be able to throw one-on-one shots down the sideline from a clean pocket. Whoa. Yeah, guys, we know this. Again, Jaden Daniels is fucking incredible at it. But there's a reason why when a lot of people were watching his tape last year and they were seeing slot fade after slot fade after slot fade after slot fade, they weren't calling him the greatest fucking prospect of all time. They were kind of like, all right, well, we might have to see him do some other stuff here. But still, very good throw. Glad to see the connection with Sutton starting to work out a little bit. Oh my God, we actually see Sutton on a double move here. Or is this a double move? You think he's just, no, this is definitely just him running the fade.
Yeah.
We have no one on this team that can run double moves. I was really thinking about that this week because I was like, man, like that's what I'm really excited to see them start running these constraint things off of. But
yeah,
you can't.
No,
you can't really do that.
Not a single one.
Hey, Josh Reynolds on your bum ankle, trying to fucking hit this corner with something nasty. Like he's needs to be like, nah, coach, I'm sorry, not today.
Man.
And this is one here we can kind of, I'll let you get into this one. This could be kind of our last little wrap-up play.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really nice play from start to finish from Nix. Like, you're going to have those crossers in the low red zone that everybody in the league runs. It seems like at least once or twice a red zone drive. But the touch that Bo Nix had on this throw here, it really is one of the more impressive throws of his career, his short-lived career so far.
Sadly, yes.
But I mean, like it really was just a nice throw, and he looked off that underneath defender just enough to where he can place it over him. And I tweeted out, this was one of the first throws where weeks 1 through 3, I want to say, I don't think he makes this throw. I really don't. I think he sees that underneath defender and it spooks him off a little bit, and he tries to run outside and make a play somewhere else. I truly believe that. But we're seeing the week-to-week improvement. He saw that, okay, maybe it isn't a see it, throw it type of situation. You can't just put it on him, but you can throw to a spot that you know your guy is going to be. And that is what quarterbacking is in the NFL today. That's just what it is, especially against these two high coverages. You're throwing to spots where you know your guys are going to be. And that's exactly what he did. And he put it to where only Reynolds could get it. And it really is just a really nice throw.
Yeah. No, 100%. No notes. I mean, again, this is probably the one time, like, when we talk about, God damn it, just set your feet and throw. Hey, you set your feet and threw. It was so funny because I kind of joked to myself when I was watching it. I was like, I wonder if he just didn't see this guy. Because I was like, I feel like if he saw that guy, he would have been like, ah! But he didn't there, so that's good. And yeah, man, I mean, accurate ball. I mean, we said it when we were talking about Nix when we were going through all of our draft coverage of him. It was like, man, if there's one thing he can do, like he does have the ability to, how do I say this? He has the ability to throw different pitches. He has the ability to kind of take things off of passes. And this is something that you'll see kind of, and this isn't me calling him, but you'll see some quarterbacks struggle with. Drew Lock had issues with this where every pass had to go 99 miles per hour. He didn't have any kind of finesse, any touch to a lot of these passes. Here, this is pure finesse. This is literally just, hey, like you said, let me throw it to my open guy in a spot. Boom, hit him right in the corner, and that's a perfectly accurate ball. So, yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things where you do see the positives shine through at times. We just want more.
Right. 100%.
Quinn Miners is awesome. What a rep. Ugh. I'm trying to think I thought I had something else to say about this one. But no, I don't think I do. Oh, here's what I was going to say. We got LTB Muse. Any bold takes for the game Sunday? Any bold predictions? On the spot. You got to think of one right now.
Look, we missed it against the Jets. Fucking, I'm just going to throw it out there this week against the Chargers. We're going to see either Mims or Franklin on a deep quarters beating touchdown. You know, Jesse Minter has done such a great job with that Chargers defense. You know, they're running the prototypical Fangio stuff, too high quarters, quarter, half, cover 9, all these different things from a split field coverage that I think they're just going to be able to take advantage and isolate one safety. And I just think they're going to get a deep touchdown to Mims or Franklin off of one of those, you know, big posts with a curl underneath it. That's what I'll say.
I love yours. I'm starting to think of mine. I'm going to go. See, mine feels boring now because you already did a touchdown. I'm going to do a Nate Adkins touchdown. I'm feeling like that depth tight end touchdown. They're going to have him in one of those pistol things near the goal line, and he's just going to get a wide open. I bet it's, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be the one where they have the layered concept. You know, they've got the high post and they've got the flat underneath, and then he's going to do the block and release where he just sits. It's going to be a Nate Adkins touchdown on that play. Oh, I'll be so happy.
I like it.
But I probably won't.
I like
All
it.
right. Well, this was a smooth episode, guys. Guys, this might have been like I did. Like I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I feel like I did the technology. I don't think I showed. I don't think I like had. I fucked up the clips really once. I'm pretty happy with
It's
myself.
perfect.
But any closing thoughts from this episode, this game, or next week's going into game?
I mean, I think we saw a flash of what they're going to try to do against the Chargers, and what they should try to do is this was the first game this season where they really had a good offense when it came to playing under center. Like they had a good balance playing under center, whether it be the run, the play action pass. I think Nix was like 6 for 8 for 70 and a touchdown from under center play action. And I think they really need to stick with that, and especially against this Chargers defense. Like I tweeted it out. I wish I had the numbers on hand because I forgot them already, but I think they have a light box on their 5th most snaps in defensive snaps in the league. They have a light box, but they're stopping the run at one of the highest rates in the NFL. Like they give up, they're top 5 in EPA per rush, yards per rush, yards per game, 10-yard rushes, all that, all from a light box. So I think they really just have to live in that under center world, downhill running with a play action. And that's where I think that deep play action against quarters is going to come from. I think it's going to come from an under center play. And they haven't lived in that under center world thus far throughout this season. And I think they're really going to this upcoming week. And I think they have to. I think they just have to stick with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, we did see it kind of get more and more implemented this last week as we've been preaching to people. Hey, there's probably a reason they're not running a lot of this stuff yet. Oh my God, what do you know? As we get into the season a little bit more, we're gonna see more under center. We'll probably see more magical motion for everybody. Yeah, like you said, I mean, the stats you posted were incredible to me because off the top of my head, and this probably sounds mean, but at least from the spine of the Chargers defense for the past few years has not been great. I don't think that's really a hot take. Their interior defensive line, linebacker room, and safety room outside of Derwin James just has not been a great unit at stopping the run. Obviously, they do have guys like Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, if healthy, on the outside. But again, so much of it is just being able to kind of clog up those lanes on the interior, especially for these teams that are just going to be pounding you up the middle with duo. So seeing that, I mean, they've got guys like, so I'm seeing they've got Puna Ford, Ogbonia, so this is Ogbonia's brother. I did not know. For anyone who doesn't know, there was a pass rusher from the Texans like 4 years ago that I really wanted Denver to get. It doesn't matter at all. I don't know why I'm going into this, but so apparently he has a brother that's plays interior. Like I'm looking at they have Tyir Tart. I wanted Tyir Tart last year. So yeah, like I'm honestly very interested to see like how it looks in the game because, and this isn't me trying to beat up on any other guys, but when you look at their defensive spine, like I said, it doesn't really look like one that's going to be a top 8 run defense. But as you stated, like they are truly like a group to be trifled with on the run game side of the ball.
Yeah. I think it's going to be one of those low scoring games again.
Oh,
Sadly.
I mean, do you not go in it? Like, I'll be real. When was the last time you won into a Denver game? And you're like, Denver might score 30 points today. Come on.
Never.
Come on. Like, right. Like,
it feels like never.
2014 Manning, before, like when he still had a leg, you know, like, oh God. 2015 Manning, you're just like, please Christ. Just come on. You can do this, man. You can do this. Dude, one last question. This is such a random question. 2015, did you think the Broncos were winning the Super Bowl before they did?
Fuck no.
Like I thought they were cooked.
Fuck no.
I thought they were so cooked.
Absolutely
I went into each of those playoffs. I worked at the time. I worked at a burger joint. This is when I was a teenager. I don't still work at a burger joint, which is fine to anyone who works at burger joints. But I had to watch those games like on the TVs in there. And it was for the Steelers game. I remember that one specifically. I remember going in like those were the triple Bs or whatever, the Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. I went into that game being like, it's been a fun season, lads. This has been great to watch. And let me tell you, I think it's over.
Yeah.
And then shit.
It did not. I mean, listen, I know he's a lot of people's favorite quarterback, and he was mine for a very long time. But Peyton Manning in that season, he was a literal fucking zombie. Like he was out on that field, he was a zombie, and it really was crazy. But hey,
watching the dude try to push the ball was like honestly, like it was honestly like God, good for you. Like you're really giving it your best out there, man. Like oh man, doing what rough. He could.
It was real rough.
Great episode, hour 45 this time. We're keeping the energy perfect, guys. You know, we're not going too long, we're not going too short. Yeah, Chargers game this weekend. So next week, I'm not going to say this because we haven't perfectly figured out. We might have 2 episodes next week because there's a Thursday night game. We'll see. Might be a lot, but we're gonna try for it. We might have an episode Wednesday and then possibly Saturday if we can get the film watched on Friday. But yeah, I've been Frankie's Film with Full Field Read.
And this is Robby_NFL. And you can find all of my work over at Let's Talk Broncos, Twitter, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And thank you guys for tuning in. We got 368 people in here tonight, which is like fucking awesome. It's always crazy that, again, Friday nights, you guys are just all in here. You get, none of you are out with the ladies, none of you are out with the, or guys, whether any, or that. I'm not even going to touch it. Whoever you might be wanting to go out with on your Friday nights, and you're choosing to spend it with us, which is just absolutely lovely. Thank you all. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to click the end stream button now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys go like, subscribe, and follow everybody on the Twitters and all the socials. Have a great night.